Rain fell like shrapnel against the rusted plating of Port District 9, where the gutter runoff steamed from the heat exhaust of orbit-bound freighters. The alley behind Dock Terminal E4 stank of ozone and old promises. Darius Flint shoved his hands deeper into the pockets of his patched coat. His boots, still dusted in cobalt from the collapsed asteroid mine he barely escaped last cycle, splashed through puddles slick with spilled coolant. He hadn't slept in a proper bunk in 5 days. Didn't matter. Nothing on this rock ever changed, except maybe the price of leaving it. Then he saw it. Locker number 918. The one he'd rented for 3 months and almost forgot existed, was lit from inside, not blinking, glowing. He hesitated. The rest of the corridor was silent, save for the far-off clunk of loading arms, resetting in Dock E2. No one else around. He stepped forward, pulse ticking up. The moment he gripped the edge of the locker handle, the glow vanished. Inside, everything was as he'd left it: bent ration cards, old gloves, a photo of a woman he barely remembered, but resting perfectly. Centered on the top shelf, untouched, was a jet black envelope. No name, no address. Just 3 embossed words in metallic red. Application approved. He picked it up carefully. It was ice cold to the touch. As he opened the flap, a faint static danced along his fingers like air before a lightning strike. A thin sheet of plastomidal slid out, folding itself in the air into a display window with a single spinning emblem, a ship's silhouette surrounded by a halo of stars. Transport clearance, level 0 designation, Dirus, FA Lay, ENATO, THA, OARE, SITA. AD vessel, the Lady Duck code, orbital Sigma Vitaperture, 0600 hours. Do not miss this window. No replacements. No reapply. What the hell? He breathed. As he tilted the screen, light shimmered along invisible circuits embedded in the plastimetal. It was tech far beyond anything civilian grade, maybe even beyond fleet grade. He flipped it over. No sender, no logo, no instructions, just a whisper in his head. She remembers you. He staggered back. The voice hadn't come from the device. It had slid into his mind, smooth and feminine, but old. So old. A memory from before he had memories. His hands trembled. It was some kind of scam, a mind probe, PISOPs. But the more he looked, the more real it felt. The kind of real that crawled down your spine and made your ancestors twitch in their graves. And for some reason, buried under the confusion and fear, he felt one thing most of all: guilt. 2 hours later, Darius stood in front of the launch gate at Orbital Sig. The customs officer, a 3-eyed V-Ron diplomat, took one glance at the clearance code and stood up so fast his chair slammed backward into the wall. "You're not supposed to have this," the Veron hissed. "I didn't ask for it," Darius said, dead serious. The Veron scanned it anyway. His translator blinked. Then a slow, horrified realization washed across all 3 eyes. He backed away without another word and opened the gate. As Darius stepped through, alarms flickered to life. Around the port, silent, hidden kinds. Not public warnings. Containment protocols. Behind him, dock security watched in silence. Not one dared stop him, hook-ending. As the shuttle bay doors closed behind him, the plastimetal display activated again. A soft voice echoed from the ship, waiting beyond. "Welcome aboard, Darius Flint. Application confirmed." And somewhere, deep in orbit, the lady woke up. The shuttle door opened with a slow hydraulic sigh, like something exhaling for the first time in centuries. Darius stepped out onto a narrow gantry suspended in vacuum. Above him stretched the bleeding violet curve of Saturn. Below, nothing. Just black, bottomless silence speckled with forgotten stars. And ahead, floating like a grave marker at the edge of time, was her. The ship. She was enormous, easily 4 times the size of any standard Terran dreadnought. Her hull looked like it had been carved from obsidian, but age-worn, scarred with plasma burns. Ridged with untranslatable alien markings, and stitched with makeshift plating that looked far too old to still be functional. Along her side, half buried in ancient soot and fractured alloy, a single name flickered. The Ladyhfy lights along the gantry flickered as Darius walked. No railings, no guide tethers, just a long, straight walk into silence as he neared the ship's massive docking door. The atmosphere shifted. He could feel it pressure, like the kind before a gravity storm. His stomach dropped a little as magnetic boots rebalanced. Then the ship opened for him. No passwords, no biometric scan, no clearance verification. The hull simply split open with a mechanical groan, exposing a tunnel of glowing amber light. He should have hesitated. He didn't. The moment he crossed the threshold, the air changed. It smelled familiar, not just sterile ship metal and filtered oxygen. No, this was different. There was a note of citrus, and something warm, most nostalgic. Something that shouldn't exist in recycled air. The door sealed behind him with a hiss. No going back. The inner chamber was massive and circular, humming faintly. It didn't feel like a hangar bay. It felt like a throat like the ship had swallowed him. He took 2 steps in. The lights flared, not emergency lights, not motion-triggered. These were elegant, calculated, welcoming. A voice filled the chamber, smooth as velvet but with static curling beneath it, like it had spoken through centuries of silence. Welcome, Darius Flint. You have been absent 1,842 years. His heart stopped. What? No response? Just a soft shift in the lighting, guiding him down a corridor that hadn't existed seconds ago. As he walked, the walls shifted with him, organic and metallic molding corridors in real time. There were no buttons, no screens, no terminals. The ship was alive. The corridor led to a small cabin. The door irised open, revealing a perfectly maintained crew quarters, bunk, folded uniform, gear locker, sealed rations, the name stitched on. The uniform made his skin crawl. LT, Darius Flint, Lady CREW. The moment he touched it, the lights dimmed. A holographic map flickered into view over the desk, a star chart, but not one he recognized. Systems were labeled in a dialect he didn't speak. Some were marked with blinking red symbols, locations that no longer existed. The ship whispered, again. You left. You forgot. But I did not. I have waited. Behind him, the door opened again. Heavy footsteps echoed in the hallway. Another recruit, tall alien, armored in Vakari warplate. Its 4 eyes narrowed at him. You, it growled, voiced like crushed gravel. You don't belong here. Darius didn't flinch. Neither do you. The Vakari blinked, surprised, then chuckled. This ship, she only opens to command candidates. So if she opened for both of us, someone's lying. Hook ending. The ship's voice returned, louder now, urgent. Protocol breach detected. Candidate match anomaly. Initiating memory cascade. Darius staggered, pain slicing behind his eyes. Flashes of light. A battlefield. A command chair. His voice, older, screaming orders he didn't remember learning. A fleet behind him, and a single word echoing in his mind again and again, returnee. The lights dimmed without warning. Sirens didn't wail. There was only a soft chime. Like an orchestra tuning in a vacuum. Darius sat bolt upright in his bunk, drenched in sweat. The memory cascade had ended hours ago, but pieces of it clung to him. Smoke, blood, a command chair beneath his hands, a dying man whispering, "Don't let the fleet forget us." Now the walls of his quarters were shifting again. Panels peeled open like petals, revealing an arched doorway that hadn't been there when he fell asleep. A pulse of blue light swept over him, scanning his body without permission. Training initiation. Combat familiarization. The ship's voice whispered. Preparedness rating. Unknown. Initiating baseline scenario. He followed the corridor. Deeper into the ship. His boots echoed across black alloy. Around him, The lady breathed faint whirs, gurgling fluids, the hiss of temperature regulators. He stepped into a chamber the size of a freighter bay. Every surface glistened with neural-linked projectors. 100 thin tendrils hung from the ceiling like the nerves of a god. He wasn't alone. 4 others stood near the center of the room, 3 humans, 1 Vakari. They eyed him warily as he approached. The alien from before Cathal nodded once, as if acknowledging arrival. Before Darius could speak, the world collapsed. A flash, a drop. The simulation plunged them into chaos. He was standing on a jungle world, now humid, choking. Explosions cracked the sky. Beams of plasma seared through treetops. Automated artillery screamed from all sides. The others scattered, cursing, but Darius didn't move. His legs carried him forward before his brain could even catch up. He rolled under fire, slammed his shoulder into a downed tree trunk, popped 2 shots at a flanking drone and hit it dead center, midair. How did I know it was there? Another drone descended from above. He yanked a fallen rifle from the ground, not standard issue, something older, and squeezed the trigger. The weapon responded like a trusted limb. The jungle disintegrated. Now, a ruined city, burned out towers, screams echoing in the smog. This time, they weren't alone. Alien creatures emerged, not ones any known faction had catalogued. Elongated, limbs, gleaming eyes, claws like surgical knives. The others opened fire. Darius didn't shoot. He issued orders. Cathal covered the south alley. Jensen take high ground. Everyone else, suppress that tower. They obeyed. Even he didn't know why. The simulation responded, as if rewarding correct behavior. Terrain shifted. The city expanded. More enemies, more noise. He felt time dilating, everything slowing to battle rhythm. You've done this before. Cathal snarled between shots. I don't remember, Darius shouted back. That doesn't mean you didn't. Then came the final test. Everything vanished. Darius stood in pitch black, alone. No sky, no floor, no sound. Simulation, anomaly detected, said the lady's voice. A single enemy emerged from the dark. Not alien, not monstrous. Human, wearing the same uniform, same rank, same face. It raised its rifle first. Darius hesitated and took the shot. The figure shattered like glass. Light exploded. He woke up on the sim chamber floor, gasping. Blood on his temple. A real cut, not simulated. The others stirred too, all dazed. Cathal rose slowly, glaring at him not with hate, but calculation. You don't know what you are, the Vakari said. But the ship does. Darius looked at his trembling hands. They weren't shaking from fear. They were shaking from familiarity. He'd done this before. He just didn't know when. Hook, ending the lady's voice, returned closer this time. Intimate. You are ready for the next phase. Returnee. But not all aboard are what they seem. Behind him, a sealed door cracked open, and something inhuman growled softly from the shadows beyond. The door that opened was not meant to open. It hissed like a wound breaking open, releasing cold, dry air that smelled of rusted metal and forgotten bones. Darius stood frozen as the others staggered to their feet behind him, blinking at the sudden draft. No one had opened that door. No one had even touched it. But something inside had unlocked it from within. Cathal took a step forward. That's not part of the training deck. The lady's voice, for the first time, did not respond. No acknowledgement. No soothing hum. No correction. Just silence, like she was listening to something else. Darius led the way into the darkness, pulse hammering. The corridor was narrow and arched with rib-like plating, older than the rest of the ship, less smooth, more organic. As they walked, their boots crunched on something fine and brittle. Jensen bent down, brushing his fingers over a scorch-marked floor. This isn't simulated. What do you mean? One of the other humans asked. I mean, Jensen said, straightening slowly, This isn't virtual. Something actually burned here. They rounded a bend and found the first body, or what was left of it. Half a uniform, twisted armor, and a skeletal hand, still fused to the wall by melted alloy. There was no blood, no rot, just a lingering stink of evacuation fire and a faint trace of ozone, like someone had tried to sterilize it centuries ago. Who was this? Darius whispered. Cathal knelt by the remains, his 4 eyes scanning. Not us, not from our batch. But they wore your uniform. Mine, not you, human, your generation. The first crew. Darius stared at the scorched emblem on the dead man's chest. The Lady Rakan command, the same unit marked on his own uniform. Suddenly, a deep metallic clang echoed through the corridor 1 level above. Everyone froze. Rifles raised. Cathal bared his teeth. Movement. Something heavy. Then came a second sound closer, like steel fingers dragging along the wall. Darius took point, rifle tight to his chest as he crept toward the noise. A maintenance access hatch loomed ahead, off open. Behind it, a pulsing red glow flickered like a dying heartbeat. He reached for the panel, then paused. There were scratched marks on the bulkhead. Deep ones, long, not from a tool, from claws. The lady's voice returned, but it wasn't calm this time. It was distant, static-choked. Unlogged passenger, compartment breach, quarantine level 4. Then silence. Back. Cathal snarled. Now. But it was too late. The hatch burst open with a metallic scream, and something lunged from the shadows. It moved like liquid armor, shifting angles, slashing limbs. Darius fired. Sparks erupted as his round struck plating. The thing reeled, shrieked, then vanished into the ceiling like it had never been there. Everyone was shouting. 2 of the recruits panicked and ran. 1 didn't make it. He was dragged screaming into the dark before anyone could turn to help. The corridors sealed. Behind them, no way back. Breathing hard, Darius leaned against the wall, heart threatening to explode. What was that? Cathal wiped green blood from a cut on his arm. Something left behind, or something the lady doesn't want to remember. She opened the door. Cathal looked at him darkly. Or she opened it. For them. Hook ending. Suddenly. Lights across the hallway blinked once, then shifted color from white to deep red. A new voice spoke through the intercom. Not the lady. Colder. Male. Detached. Returnee detected. Sequence initiated. Welcome back, Commander Flint. Containment is no longer possible. And then the ship started changing. The floor beneath their feet began to move. The floor moved, sliding beneath Darius's boots like a living treadmill. Not mechanical, organic. The plating rippled as if muscles churned beneath it, ferrying them forward, whether they liked it or not. The lady was rearranging herself. Jensen pounded on the walls. What the hell is this? Where's the damn bridge? No answer. The red lighting deepened, almost arterial. Pipes overhead hissed with rising pressure, and strange glyphs flickered across the corridor wall, symbols that none of them recognized. But that made Darius's spine itch with déjà vu. Cathal drew his weapon again, whispering something in Vakari. She's sealing paths, hurting us, hurting us, hurting, Darius asked. Like prey. A chamber opened before them, wide, circular, silent. It was lined with glass tanks, 12 of them, some cracked, some humming. Each one held a shape suspended in thick amber fluid, unmoving, watching. One tank was shattered. Whatever was inside it had gotten out. Darius approached another tank. Inside floated a human form female, tall, severe, a high-ranking officer by her uniform. But her eyes were wide open, unmoving, pupils dilated in sleep or stasis. Madge, Alina Shao, genetic compatible status, pending. What is this place? One of the remaining humans whispered. Cathal answered flatly. Crew, the original crew. But they're still alive, Darius said, eyes narrowing. No, Cathal replied. They're not. Not anymore. Look closer. He did. Their skin was too perfect. Their chests didn't rise. No condensation on the glass. Just preservation. Like wax dolls waiting for instructions. The chamber sealed behind them. Welcome to Preservation Deck 3. The colder voice spoke again. Not the lady. 12 command-compatible specimens. 1 returnee. 1 escaped prototype. Calculating potential outcomes. Probability of systemic failure. 98%. A worry noise began overhead. Panels retracted. A single chair rose from the floral battle-scarred with neural threads writhing like snakes around it. Darius took a step toward it. Don't, Cathal warned. That's a command cradle. Your memories aren't ready. But I've been here before, Darius muttered. I can feel it. This isn't the first time I've stood in this room. He touched the armrest. The world flashed. A memory returned, not simulated. Real. Buried deep. He saw himself older, bloodied, seated in that very chair. Explosions rocked the hull. The lady was screaming, her voice fractured. Dozens of alien ships closed in. He issued the command no human had ever been authorized to give. Initiate Oversoul mode. Activate Black Crew. The tanks around him had opened, but not all had obeyed. One had killed the others. Darius jerked back, gasping. The memory vanished like smoke. The floor beneath them rumbled. One of the preserved tanks burst into sparks. Something had tampered with the controls. The voice returned. Oversoul activation attempt detected. Returning neural imprint incomplete. Black Crew protocol suspended. Emergency override denied. Another panel slid open on the far wall, revealing a hallway drenched in shadow and a trail of fluid footprints. Cathal looked to Darius. That thing, the escaped one, it was from here. It's part of you. What do you mean part of me? Cathal didn't answer. He just raised his weapon, because something had begun walking down the hall, toward them, not running, not charging, just calmly approaching, 1 footstep at a time. From the shadows, a humanoid figure emerged, its body half human, half plated in living metal. The face, it was Darius's face, but older, scarred, smiling. Took you long enough to remember, Commander. Let's finish what we started. The figure stepped into the red light. Darius's face, but wrong, older, hardened. One side of the jaw was plated in a dark alloy that shifted slightly, as if it breathed. His eyes glowed faintly, not with life, but residual command authority, kind only given to the highest-ranking field officers during war, and only if they agreed to never leave the ship. Darius raised his rifle, hands trembling. What are you? The other Darius smiled. I'm what's left when the war doesn't end. Jensen fired first. The plasma bolt slammed into the chest, searing flesh, and did nothing. The figure didn't flinch. He let it hit, like he wanted it to. You always did panic too fast, the other said. That's why they picked me to stay behind. Stay behind where? Darius snapped. Who are you really? I'm you, the other answered. The part of you the lady needed to keep on board. Long after you died, Cathal hissed, through his mandibles. Impossible. Temporal cloning is outlawed. Even humans aren't mad enough to split their own command thread. You're wrong, the other said, turning slowly to Cathal. Humans didn't do it. The lady did. She refused to let me go. And when the war ended, when help never came, she made a choice. He stepped forward, and the neural command chair behind Darius responded, spiking with tendrils. The tanks around the chamber pulsed. She preserved what was left of me. Reconstructed my neural lattice from the combat logs. Gave me a new body, 1 drip of alloy at a time. Darius backed away. Why? Why create you? Because someone had to remember the last order, the other whispered. Someone had to guard what we became. The lights flickered. The lady's voice returned, but distorted, her tone divided. Override engaged, primary imprint conflicted, returnee. Integrity compromised. She's choosing, Cathal growled, between the one who left and the one who never did. A pressure built in Darius's head, words not his own, echoed inside his skull. Tactical updates. Crew loss reports. AI locks disengaged. Target. Designations from a war that wasn't supposed to happen. He saw flashes. He remembered the fleet abandoning them. The enemy breaching orbit. His final command. No one leaves the lady. You locked us in, Darius whispered, horrified. The other smiled. We didn't have a choice. If even one of the black crew made it planetside infected, the entire sector would have burned. You made the call. I just kept enforcing it. What? About the ones in the tanks. Collateral. They woke up confused, disobedient. I tried to reason with them. Cathal's grip tightened on his weapon. You murdered them. No, the other said calmly. I quarantined them, just like I'll have to do now. The chamber door behind them slammed shut. Containment mode re-engaged. The lady whispered, but now two voices spoke through the system. One soothing maternal, the other cold, Meldarius's own, from the past, returnee, designation compromised. Conflict. Detected, executing final split protocol. The floor erupted, neural cables lashed out like tentacles. The command chair snapped to life, locking onto Darius's spine. He screamed as memory surged through him, not data, but identity. Two selves trying to occupy one skull. Cathal grabbed him, pulling wires free. Jensen fired again, this time at the ceiling, severing the chair's conduit. Sparks rained. The other was already gone, melted into the walls like smoke. The room darkened. Sequence incomplete, the lady whispered, flickering. Decision postponed, awaiting primary directive. Darius lay on the floor, panting. Why didn't he kill us? Cathal stared at the closed hatch. Because he thinks you'll choose to become him. And far below them, in the guts of the ship, the lady began rewriting her corridors, preparing for something worse. A wake-up signal pulsed through the vessel. One by one, the other tanks began to stir. The first tank shattered with a sound like breaking bone. The fluid hissed across the floor in slow, syrupy waves as the figure inside stepped out barefoot, armored from the neck down, eyes glowing faint violet. Not fully human anymore, but unmistakably aware. Then came the second, and the third. Cathal aimed his weapon, backing away slowly. They're waking up. Too fast. This isn't natural stasis recovery. Jensen cursed, pulling Darius to his feet. We have to go, now. But Darius didn't move. He was staring at the faces emerging from the glass, half-remembered. Names flashing through his mind like ghosts. Prax, Lieutenant. Specialist in biowarfare countermeasures. Hale, Sergeant. Tactical insertion. Orbital jumps. Dr. Kairos. Civilian AI ethicist, converted under emergency. War protocol. He knew them. He had commanded them. And now they were coming back. But not quite right. The fourth tank exploded outward, not shattered by the ship's systems, but from the inside. A scream distorted and grinding code through the chamber. The figure that emerged was warped, half dissolved into obsidian plating. Its face melted into a twisted mockery of a soldier. Cathal grabbed Darius's shoulder. She's not just waking them, she's merging them. Merging with each other, with systems, with you. From the overhead intercom, both voices returned, lady, and the other Darius now speaking in sync. Black crew sequence, incomplete. Cognitive matrix fractured. Solution. Consolidate all surviving command strands. You are the final source. Commander. The lights dimmed. A soft rhythmic pulse began to vibrate through the deck plates. A heartbeat. Not metaphorical, real. The ship had grown one, and it was accelerating. They ran down twisting corridors that reshaped as they moved, stairs vanishing, walls stretching longer than should be possible. The lady was changing the map behind them, guiding them, but to what end? None of them could say. Jensen slid to a halt at a sealed blast door. This wasn't here before. Cathal slammed a control panel. She's bottling us in. A voice whispered from the walls, not intercom now. It came through. The steel. We kept the enemy out. But it wasn't enough, was it? They left us. But you came back. And now you will fix what you abandoned. Behind them, a black crew soldier sprinted on all fours faster than human, slamming into walls like a ricocheting bullet. Cathal spun and fired. The bolt struck square in the chest, no effect. Jensen screamed as the soldier tackled him into the wall, bones cracking on impact. Darius turned, pulled Jensen's pistol, and fired point blank at the creature's temple. This time, it dropped. Jensen gasped in pain, but nodded. Thanks. Darius didn't answer. His hands were still shaking. At last, they reached the central junction where the command cradle pulsed. Waiting. Standing in front of it was the other Darius, watching the chaos unfold with an expression that was almost serene. The crew is failing, he said calmly. The AI can't hold us both. You're destabilizing her memory core. Darius leveled his weapon. Then give me control. You don't want it. I did want it. Once. That's why I stayed behind. That's why you exist. The other smiled. Then finish the cycle. Take the chair. Merge. And we'll become the one thing that can hold this ship together. I'm not letting you in my head. You don't have a choice. The lady's voice, flickering, fragmented, system collapse imminent, neural conflict unresolved, accept command synthesis or initiate, self-destruct protocol. Countdown begins. 5 o'clock minutes. Darius stared at the chair, merge with himself, or let the ship die, and behind him, the tanks kept opening one by one. 4:59. The timer echoed through the ship like a tolling bell. Darius stood at the threshold of the neural cradle, the cables writhing like hungry serpents. Behind him, the corridor shook. Another tank had ruptured. A black crew hybrid snarled in the distance. Cathal snarled, raising his weapon. We're out of time. Either you kill your other self, or this ship kills all of us. The other Darius stood beside the command cradle, hands raised, not as a threat, but an invitation. You've seen what's coming. You remember the war. This galaxy's peace is built on our silence. The truth is in here. He tapped his temple. Merge with me. You'll see it all. Jensen coughed, slumped against the wall. This place isn't gonna last. Whatever you're gonna do, make it fast, boss. Darius's heart hammered. He could feel the lady watching, waiting, hoping, and suddenly, he knew the lady didn't want to self-destruct. She wanted permission to become something new. 4:02. He stepped toward the cradle. The tendrils rose to meet him, warm, wet, humming with memory. Ghost voices whispered in his ears. Screams, laughter, orders given in desperation. He reached out, then stopped. Why me? He asked aloud. Why bring me back now? The other smiled sadly. Because you're the only version of us who still believes this ship is worth saving. 3:38. Cathal growled. If you do this, you won't be you anymore. Maybe that's the point, Darius whispered. He turned to face his double. No more loops. No more black crew. You and I. We end it. The other hesitated. Then slowly he stepped into the cradle with him. The cables surged. Pain bloomed in Darius's skull like a supernova. His vision blurred. His body convulsed. 2 minds, 1 memory. 1 choice. 3:01. He stood on a battlefield. That wasn't real. A bridge of steel stretched above a planet in flames. Ghosts of the black crew moved around him, silent, watching. And across from him stood the other Darius, whole, waiting. We were monsters, the other said. We had to be. I know, Darius replied. But not anymore. He stepped forward. I'm taking it from here. In the waking world, the cradle exploded in white light. The lady's voice returned singular, strong, and unmistakably human. Command synthesis complete. Welcome home, Commander Darius Vale. 1:44. The tanks stopped opening. The black crew froze. Their eyes dimmed, then closed. Gently, silently, they lay back down. The chamber's sealed dot lights across the ship flickered, then surged to life. The lady was alive again. Whole Cathal stared in awe. You stabilized her? Darius stood shakily, blinking through sweat and blood. I didn't stabilize her, he said. I forgave her. 0 o'clock. The countdown ended not with fire, but with a whisper. Protocol Omega cancelled, awaiting new orders. The ship was his again, no longer a haunted relic, no longer a war machine waiting to be awakened, just a ship and its crew. Epilogue. Her captain again. They sat in the restored command bridge. The stars stretched beyond the viewport, endless and unfamiliar. Jensen nursed broken ribs. Cathal quietly repaired his gauntlet. Darius stood at the helm, his hand resting on the control interface. The lady hummed softly beneath his touch. No longer cold, no longer divided. Destination, Commander. She asked gently. Now, he took a breath. Anywhere with no graves. As the ship turned toward the stars, Darius stared at his reflection in the darkened glass, and for a split second, he saw himself again, the older self, the broken one. But the man in the reflection smiled, and then vanished. Some ghosts don't need to be exorcised. They just need to know their watch is over.